Hi Barefoot friends. Come along with me on my latest barefoot rucking adventure. Let's check out what I'm putting in my pack. I've got my full 26-ounce Yeti, a 20-pound ruck plate, my journal, and of course, some leftover pizza. The route that I have planned, I haven't been on in probably a couple of years, but my daughter made the suggestion, so I thought, why not? It's a short and steep out and back, about a mile each direction, and from what I had remembered, the ground texture was pretty loamy and not too tough for barefooting. So my attitude was very mellow going into this ruck. Okay, shoes and socks are off, and I'm just about ready to go. Do you see those trees at the top of the hill? That's where I'm headed. Remember what I said about the ground texture being loamy? Yeah, I was way off on that. These rocks were sharp, and every step was miserable. I distracted myself by eyeballing all the beautiful wildflowers that were out. But holy moly, I was only about a quarter mile in, and it hurt. To add insult to injury, I took a wrong turn. Actually, I took a couple of wrong turns. I ended up traversing the base of the hill, each excruciating step probably a full mile or about half an hour before I found myself on the correct trail. By the time I was finally on the right path and gaining elevation, one of my feet started talking to me in a way that I knew would lead to injury if I didn't get my shoes back on. So I found this clearing, took a pause, and got them back on my feet. I love the challenge of carrying weight while barefoot, but there are definitely risks involved, and I didn't want to end up with plantar fasciitis. Whew, those boots felt so good to put back on. Even though it was a short trail and I had plenty of food and water, the combination of being in a fasted state, barefoot, and lost had my nervous system way activated. Of course, I knew at any time I could drop the weight, eat, or simply turn around and go back home, but I had some trees to go talk to, and none of that was an option. All right, boots on, pack on, let's get back on the trail. I felt so much better, and it was easy going from here on up. Now that's the view I was looking for, even if it was a bit of a hazy winter day. There's the trees, just around the bend. I was so happy to get that ruck off and set up for a little bit of grounding, yoga, some snacking, and some journaling. As soon as I rolled out my blanket, I started feeling my nervous system settle back down. In spite of a couple of challenges, I had reached my goal. Carrying the weight up the steepest portion of the climb left my feet as equally happy to take my boots back off as they had been to put them on just a little while before. The weather was absolutely perfect, and underneath the shelter of the trees, I felt completely safe and at home. Now that my toes are free, I'm ready to counter the tightness from rucking with some yoga. I definitely recommend these poses for either mid or post ruck. I started with a child's pose to ease my low back, And then I moved into downward dog to add in some shoulders. I'm a big fan of this heel hook Achilles calf stretch. It also helps to stretch the toes of the opposite foot. I held each one for a few breaths, and then back to the regular downward dog. I was able to hold this one a little bit deeper. Then I added in this juicy twist. And then I thought my tight shoulders from carrying the weight would really benefit from a dolphin pose. I sat in it for a few breaths. When I felt ready, I came down from the dolphin pose and stepped a foot forward into a low lunge. This felt great in my hip flexor. After a few breaths, I dropped open my knee to stretch through the inner thigh. Eventually, I reached back for a twisted monkey pose, which might have been a little bit too deep for how stiff I was feeling, but I did it anyway. Careful release, then pull the hips back for a runner stretch. Flip it around, wash and repeat. Eventually, I came into a nice, slow lower down onto my belly, followed by a very uplifting Urdhva Dhanurasana, or wheel pose. This countered all of the forward rounding that happens while rucking. I finished up with this last shoulder opener, my favorite one with the arms stretched out to a T. This releases the upper traps in the back of the neck. Okay, that's enough movement. I'm ready for my pizza. Unfortunately, at this point, my camera is about to run out of battery. So I'll just have to spoil the ending for you by letting you know that I enjoyed a damn good bite of pizza. Followed up with some journaling, casual chit-chat with another hiker. When I was ready, I put my boots back on and made it home safe and sound. Happy grounding!